Oh man, I'll tell you what, they're bad. Way up and running. Let's call our meeting to order. Minutes and reports received and filed.
We have the August 2015 Treasurer's Reconciliation Report filed and the Polk County Sheriff's fees filed for September 2015.
Okay. Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings and events.
No, who's buying breakfast? Solid Waste Management District Board meeting today, Home Builders Association meeting tonight. Ladies night, you go? Hey, bingo, you gotta go? I missed a good one. Quarterly reports due tomorrow. Chamber Connections tomorrow night. That's about all I got. I'll let you have some of them, Sam.
Yeah, you might as well go first because you
Okay.
said everything.
Well, tomorrow's my birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday tomorrow.
Cole County Republicans Club dinner.
Happy birthday.
Friday is Cap Region Medical Center's outreach meeting at 7:30. Saturday is LU's homecoming parade at 9:30, and it's Shop United Day, so you got to shop at participating stores.
You got to
money
shop
goes-
with somebody? That's not even anything.
Monday is I'm going out to the EMS staff meeting at 9 a.m. So that's what
How
I
old you
got.
gonna be tomorrow?
Huh?
How old you gonna be tomorrow?
Old enough to be your father.
38. Sam.
So I got a salute meeting at noon today. Let's see. There's I'm playing in a granny basketball game at Trinity on Saturday evening at 7.
granny?
Granny basketball. Come out and see me in a dress. There you go.
I think I will pass on that.
Really? It's after dark, so
Divisions
hunting season will be
tonight.
over. Hunting time will be over. American Legion
They can be
dinners.
serving drinks.
American Legion baseball dinner is $100 on Saturday night, and then I have an MMRPC meeting next week on Tuesday. That's all I got.
So they figured out if they're gonna be able to do this salute thing up at MSP? Or have you heard anything about that?
So they're still exploring exploring that venue. I won't say any more about that yet, but
Oh.
they're looking at it.
Shh, I said nothing.
No, you're good.
Okay. Presentation from staff, consultants, invited guests, Wall Street, to discuss 2016 health and dental insurance renewal.
Thank you, Mr. Bushman. And the commission, thank you for the opportunity to come up and visit this morning. We're approaching the annual renewal, which is January 1st of each year, of the employee group health benefit plan, along with some other ancillary coverages, life, dental, that type of thing. We put together a agenda in front of you. There's quite a bit in here. We're not going to go through every part of this, but we wanted to have it for your review at your leisure. But we thought we'd hit on some high items here, some top level items that we need to look at and make some decisions on. So inside the first cover is just an agenda page. Just mentions the 10 different tabs and what's included in those. When you go to tab 1, the things we're going to talk about on the medical renewal is looking at your stop loss renewal, which currently is a $50,000 deductible for specific claims, but also look at a couple different other deductible options for you to consider. And then the other things included throughout the package include what's listed there: medical utilization, network savings for the medical, pharmacy utilization, and then we are suggesting increasing the pharmacy copayments up to the ACA maximum, which we'll talk about on the traditional plan. And also the Affordable Care Act. We've worked with Debbie extensively and the HR team here regarding that. We'll just highlight that as we get to that point. And the ancillary renewal, and then questions and answers. So we'll try to keep this moving quickly, but please stop me if you need to go into any more detail. Section 2, just as a reminder, is the current summary of benefits. There's 2 different plans that are offered to the employees and any of the family members they would like to cover. The first one listed there is a high deductible health plan. That's a qualified high deductible health plan that you can put a health savings account with. So that's one option for employees. The option on the right is your traditional, what we call a traditional PPO plan with a lower deductible. You can see the deductibles there, $1,000 individual, $2,000 for the family. And it also has a pharmacy out-of-pocket maximum. Now with ACA, you have to have a total combined out-of-pocket maximum. And we'll talk about raising those a little bit to stay up with the ACA amount you can go to. It does have office visits, as you can see, the 30 and the 60 listed there. And both of them have prescription drug benefits listed at the bottom. However, the high deductible HSA, those benefits are not paid as far as a copayment until the deductibles met, which again is part of being a qualified high deductible health plan. And on the traditional plan, those copayments are paid up front before the member would have to pay their deductible. You can see there's various copayments for different levels of prescriptions that they would choose. So that's our current benefits. Not suggesting really a lot of changes because the plan is ran very well, which we'll get into with the stop-loss proposal. But any questions on the current benefits outline?
Where was the ER?
Emergency room is kind of just below the middle there, Chris. And on the high deductible health plan, it falls under the deductible and the coinsurance. And then under the traditional plan, it's a $200 copayment for the emergency room.
We adjust that. Oh, okay.
And we did raise that previously. And then a $50 copayment for urgent care.
Okay.
And the 200's definitely in the, you're not low there, you're not
Right.
real high either. I mean,
So it's not the same for the HSA as it is the PPO?
correct. So the HSA, they would have to go in, pay whatever the emergency room charges would be.
Okay.
It would go to their deductible.
Okay.
And until their deductible's met, the member would pay all of that cost.
Okay.
Any other questions on the benefits? Okay. If you move to section 3, this really is where we want to spend just a little bit of time with the commission. Just to remind you, we of course are partial self-funded. We started that one of 2014, so we left United fully insured, went into partial self-funding. And the good thing about self-funding, we really break apart the pieces so you can see where your dollars are going. So when you look at the current versus the renewal, we'll kind of walk through those numbers. These numbers are based on the census, which is up in the top left. So we have 224 employee onlys, 8 employee and spouses, 46 employee with children, 1 or more children, and 4 employees with families. So a total of 282 employees covered, but you're covering a lot more members than that when you add all the covered family members together. So on the right-hand side, we'll just maybe walk down the renewal. The TPA, so on the left-hand side, we kind of have the coverages and what that is, and on the right-hand side, what you're doing there. So the TPA, or third-party administrator, is UMR, which is the third-party administrator owned by United Healthcare. So that allowed us to stay with United from a network standpoint. So right below that, it mentions we're with UHC, United Healthcare, on the network. The reinsurance carrier, when you go partial self-funded, if you want to have coverage for high claimants, we purchase what's called specific deductible reinsurance coverage. So if we have that $500,000 or that $1 million claim, we're not paying that whole claim as a reminder. We're just paying it up to a certain deductible. So the carrier is BP. It's coordinated through United Healthcare. We're on a 12-15 contract. Just to kind of remind you of that, when we left fully insured, 1/1/14, we didn't have to worry about any claims that were incurred in 2013 because that carrier was paying those claims. Even if they were turned in sometime the next year, you were fully insured, you paid them all the premium, they took all the risk. On a partial self-funded contract, we need to have a term of time that we're buying that contract. So this starts every January, and the 12 represents the 12 calendar months of the year, January through December 31st. The 15 represents an additional 3 months going into the next year that claims, if they were incurred, and as an example, if they were incurred in 2015, as long as they were incurred in 2015, processed and paid during that year or the following 3 months, January, February, March, they apply to this individual stop-loss policy. So it really gives us some run-out coverage. If Randy has a knee surgery on December 12th, that surgery is not billed and paid for until February or March, it's still covered under this contract, and it still goes under my personal $50,000 specific deductible. So that deductible currently is $50,000. It's what we've had since we began self-funding. So we're paying the first $50,000 of any large claimant. That's after the employee, of course, is paying their own deductible and coinsurance and things too. But after that $50,000, then it would go to the reinsurance carrier. This reinsurance policy covers medical and pharmacy, which is very important in today's world because pharmacy charges are continue to be a bigger and bigger piece of the total spend on health care. On the third part, any questions on the stop loss? I'll get to the premiums on it in a second, but that's the coverage you're purchasing, and that's the individual coverage per person. The third-party administration, UMR is asking for a small increase from $38.27 to $39.22. They were actually at about $42, and we got that back down to $39.22. Most TPAs are asking for an increase due to the additional reporting that has been levied on them due to healthcare reform and ACA. So we would recommend accepting that. It's a fairly small increase, but that's the first increase we've had since going with UMR. The broker advisor fee is what we charge, the $5.95. We're not paid on your reinsurance. If your reinsurance costs go up, we don't make more money. It's a flat per employee per month fee, which we feel is a very professional way to handle that. That way we have no bias if your plan goes up or down in cost. We're trying to not tie ourselves to the reinsurance renewal increase if there would be one. Your aggregate premium is $523. I'll talk more about that in a second. It's really what relates to the bottom part of this page, which is kind of your umbrella coverage. And then the specific reinsurance premiums you're paying for medical and RX, you can see that they were $90.02 going to $102.97. I won't go through all four of those, but that basically these are your fixed cost. This is what we're paying, with the majority of that being your stop loss premium. So our fixed costs have obviously went up, roughly $50,000. And when you look at the overall cost, which I'll get into, we're actually having a little bit of a decrease on what I would call the soft dollars. But I don't want to bypass the point that we are having a little bit of an increase on fixed cost. So specific reinsurance over time will continue to go up, especially if you hold your line on that deductible of $50,000, because claim costs continue to go up. So as that happens, you're taking really a little bit less risk, and they're charging you a premium for that. To put that in perspective, it would be comparable to having a $250 deductible on your car versus over time moving to a $500 deductible because it lowers your premium, if you will. So we have quoted you a couple different deductible options, which we'll get to, but again, let me stop with that and see if there's any questions from the commission. Okay, on the bottom, and you don't really have to purchase coverage below this. We generally recommend you do, especially if coming off of fully insured and not having a real good feel for where the claims will land beyond that. So this aggregate is just that, is an aggregate of all your covered members, so it's an umbrella ceiling, if you will. You're paying for this coverage too. That's at $5.23, which there was no increase there. But for $5.23 times the 282, your total number of employees times 12, that's the premium. You're paying roughly around $30,000 in premium to have this policy. It's also a 1215, covers medical and RX. It's $1 million insurance policy, and where that comes in is they come up with attachment factors, if you will, attachment factors. And you can see the good news is you're a shining example of partial self-funding. Your plan is ran very well. Your claims are down from what they were last year. That's why this carrier is lowering your attachment factors. So the employee is going from 454.14 to 419.69. And then, of course, the other numbers below there, I won't read all those. But that, when you take those factors times your census, the employee or the certain family members listed, it generates an annual number. So last year we had an annual number, or this current year, an annual number of $1,792,000, call it $1.8 million. So let me explain a little bit further. The carrier is saying they estimate what you're going to have in claims. They add 25% to that, and they come up with these factors. So this carrier is saying if Cole County has more than $1.8 million of claims, we will then step in and pay this $1 million insurance policy. the chances of you all hitting that ceiling are very low, and you've ran well below it this year, because you've had a really good year in claims. And you don't have to buy aggregate coverage, but the benefit you have is from a catastrophic nature, and I'll explain that. Just keep in mind that this 1.8 million, that's not coming from one claimant. If Randy has $1 million claim, the county's only paying the first 50,000 of that. So the only things that are going to this 1.8 million are all claims under 50,000. Anything over that is paid by the reinsurance carrier for the specific reinsurance. So it would take a lot of claims under 50,000, and that could be Randy's claim of $500,000, and 50,000 is calculated there. Joe has a claim of 12,000, 12,000 goes there. But you all have ran extremely well there. That's why you're getting a decrease in those numbers, but I would call those, soft dollars, because reality, you may never pay that amount anyway. But when you add those dollars to your fixed cost, again, the fixed cost being up above, and those are hard dollars, you are going to pay those, you can see that your annual maximum funding has went down. So that's good news. We're still dealing with an increase on the fixed cost, so we wanted to talk to the commission about possibly looking at a higher deductible, which we can do on the next page. But any questions on that page? Okay, so flipping to the next page, and you can kind of maybe fold those two pages over, just looking at the totals. If we would move to a $60,000 specific, so we're going from a 50 to a 60, we're going to spend an extra $10,000 per large claimant before the reinsurance kicks in. You're saving just over $40,000 to make that change in hard cost. So we're going from $576 to $532. If we have less than 4 high claimants, we're money ahead. If we have 4, we're breaking even. If we have more than 4, we're going to go in the hole a little bit. No one has the crystal ball for next year, but to give you an indication, in 2013, when we were fully insured, we had 3 large claimants over 50,000. Last year we had 6. This year we have 2. We may have another one before the end of the year. Typically, if you're at 3 or more, as far as a savings potential, we recommend taking that higher deductible. So from a business standpoint, we would recommend going from the 50 to the 60. We'll also show you 75,000, because you're saving, you're taking on risk, but you would have to have 4 claimants or more to not break even. Does that make sense, first of all? Okay. And then the page right behind that is simply showing a 75,000 specific deductible. So we're taking on 25,000 more per claimant. But there again, if we would do that compared to the 50,000, you would lower your fixed cost $100,000. So again, you'd have to have 4 or more claimants to not come out ahead on that. And that that may be too big of a jump this year, but we've been on the 50,000 since we started. We talked about it last year. We felt let's get one more year under our belt. And you don't have to change from 50,000, but you're going to end up paying a little bit more of a premium every year to keep that deductible lower when you're dealing with utilization in the medical and pharmacy world. So, any questions on that?
On the high claimants, you said 6, 3, and 2 so far this year?
You've had 3 in 2013. 6 high, and what I'm referring to there, good question, Jeff, is in 2013 there was 3 claimants. You were fully insured then that were over 50,000.
Okay.
Last year there was 6. There was 6.
Last year was 6,
was
okay.
6, and this
Yeah,
year,
mixed up.
if you actually flip to tab 4, this shows you your high claimants. They're de-identified. It doesn't
Okay.
tell you who they are, but it does show you that you've had. If you look at the total paid, you have the first one there is at 117% of the 50,000, so they're at 58,000. The next one's at 51, call it 52,000. We've got another one there at 42. So there's a good example right there. We're going to get 8,000 back, and then a couple thousand back from the current carrier. If you would have been at 60, you'd still be paying those claims up to that 60, but you're saving $40,000 too. So it's again a little bit of a gamble. If we have 4 or less, if we have 4, we're going to break even. If we have 3, you save 10,000. So it's just a matter. If we have 6 next year, yeah, we would have been better off staying with the 50,000.
That 58,000, we'll just use it as an example of that first one. Does
Uh-huh.
that go, that was all this year, so if it's something that's still related to that, carries over to 2016?
Next, very good question.
Starts at
So,
zero again?
Starts at zero again, unless there's claims incurred during this, any claims incurred during this year for that person, so this claim may not be totally over, but any claims incurred during this year, as long as they're processed and paid before March of next year, will go towards this year. But any claims that start January 1 and going forward will be a brand-new deductible of 50 or 60 or 75. So the deductible doesn't follow the claim, the deductible follows the year.
Okay, thanks.
So can we look at this $75,000? So anyway, our fixed cost saves us $100,000. How does that affect our exposure?
As far as the bottom?
Well, I mean, so, we're on the hook up to 75,000 for
Right.
as many, so potentially that could be a lot more dollars.
Could be, if you go over 4, you'll be going back 25,000 per person.
But how does that, so that affects, the fixed cost then takes into account the reinsurance,
Yeah.
basically.
So, yeah, so I mean, you're gonna end up, if we have 4, if you're 4, you'll break even. If you have less than 4, you'll be money ahead. If we have more than 4, you're gonna be paying out an extra 25,000 compared to that 50 per person. But on an employer size, the 50,000 was a good place to start. We were just our first year we got into it.
Sure.
And you all are aware of that when we first talked about it. But we would definitely suggest making a change. Maybe go to the 60 if you feel the 75 is too big of a jump. Over time, you will need to continue to go up. You don't have to, but you're gonna end up paying more and more in premium.
Right.
Kind of like my analogy of the car insurance. We've all, the days of the $100 deductibles are over. We've all got $500 or $1,000 deductibles on cars now. So it's kind of the same thing. I mean, over time, you'll have to raise that deductible to keep taking the same level of risk versus the reinsurance carrier. Otherwise, they're gonna be charging a premium for that lower deductible, if that makes sense.
Okay.
We're pushing a wellness campaign, although we don't know how that's going. As long as Jeff's careful when he's out hunting.
That's right.
I'm always careful.
We gotta worry about these old people.
Yeah, That's right.
I didn't
So
say that.
I'm gonna give me one of those hover rounds,
So
man.
65-year-old Hellraisers, that's what
Yeah,
you
that's
call
right.
I'll give me one of those fast those hover rounds.
I mean,
Probably
you're-
get hurt on that.
Do you want to discuss that any further? We can finish the presentation and let you all take that under advisement.
Yeah, I'd say just keep moving on.
Okay, so section 4, again, just we wanted to show you the high claimants there, just as far as the number. Section 5, this is your aggregate. Debbie and your team here sees this monthly. We don't really need to spend, a lot of time here. But, you're running very well. So when you look at your claims, your year-to-date claims, you all are, going towards the right there, 621,000. So I mean, you all have ran very well. You're well below your 1.8 million of claims. So you're doing well, and that includes, your medical and your pharmacy.
Is that what our expected claims?
That is, so.
You said 1.8 million. Is that
For the year. So if you look back, this is just through,
Sure, I mean,
not
Through
August.
I realize
August,
we gotta
yeah.
go through
Yeah.
15 months.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, but through August, and a very good question, Chris. If you look at, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 column over, it says actual attachment point, 1,172,000. That is through August of those factors we talked about leading up to the 1.8 million. So you were at let's call it 1.2 million. Well, your medical claims right next to that were 449, say 450. Pharmacy was 177,000. So that when you add up your total monthly claims, 630,000. So you all have had 630,000 claims. Your ceiling is at 1.2 million, and you all are running very, very well.
Yeah.
So that's why your soft dollars have been pushed down, because the reinsurance carrier ceiling, we've pushed back and said, hey, your ceiling's up here, they're not even close to it. And hopefully you will never get close to that. But, some businesses don't even buy that aggregate ceiling coverage, but, and I mentioned it before, I need to follow up on that. The reason to have that coverage is a catastrophe, and that could be a natural disaster, like a tornado, or a earthquake, tornado. It could be an epidemic. So it would be where it's not the one claim that's going to hurt you. It's not Randy's $1 million claim because you're only paying the first 50. It's if you had 60, 70, 80, 200 of these members went in and all had major claims and you had to pay the first 50 or 60 or 75, that would be an astronomical number. So that's why you buy that ceiling coverage. Probably will never need it, but it does give you the sleep well at night insurance, if you will. So that's the aggregate summary. The section right behind that, we'll move through these fairly quickly, I don't want you to feel like we're rushing, but just hit on the highlights. The good news about UMR and the reason we stayed with UMR and United Healthcare was to stay in the United Healthcare network. So when you look at your discounts, just taking their total discount, you're looking at a 51, almost 52% discount off of charges. So when that hospital bills that charge for $100,000, it's being discounted 50%. So United Healthcare has a very good discount within their networks. Right behind that, it also just kind of duplicates that, both in the network utilization, that page. The one right behind it just shows a little bit more detail of where those claims were, inpatient, outpatient, physician, and ancillary. And then the main page I wanted to hit on is the one where if you flip to it on the bottom right corner, it says 99.4%. This just shows you that of all of your claims,
Network utilization.
again, for inpatient, outpatient, physician, 99.4% of your claims, that lower right-hand corner there, are staying in network. So as Joe monitors this, works with Debbie and so forth, that's what the network's working very well for us. People are using the network, they're staying in it, and you're getting those discounts. So that just continues on. It just kind of shows you, again, your range of claims. Some of these reports are 2014 because we won't get 15 until we're done with the year. But it just, so network-wise, you're running extremely well. Any questions on those pages? Just wanted to.
Do we have some reports on 14 just to see where we kind of go at the end of the year? Because I'm sure usage peaks at the end of the year, and just some of that data that would show us,
Claims usage or where they're going or both?
Yeah, so so medical, pharmacy, so this is our second year in this, right?
Right.
So,
We'll get comparative data the end of April.
Okay.
That will show how we did
Both
the
years.
first year and how we've done this year.
Okay.
And that'll probably be a good report for us to bring over and go over maybe
Okay.
sometime in May and see
But we
exactly
gotta-
where we're at.
You got to wait a little bit. Well, it'll
we
give
got to
you,
renew before we,
Yeah.
Right.
all that, so.
it'll
Okay.
give you.
What would you like to see? And I'll see if I can get it.
I'd just like to see in kind of all of 14, that 12, 15,
The contracted.
all of 14, just kind of where we ended
Full-
up,
full
and
picture.
maybe by month or something, just to
Okay.
just to see
Sure.
how it peaks there at the end of the year, basically.
Gotcha. So we'll do, well, it'll basically be this aggregate type report that we looked at before by month, but it'll
That's
show you
fine.
the full contract.
Yeah.
Very good. Section 7 is your pharmacy. Again, won't go through all of this. I think the big thing, again, this is 2014. We don't have all the 2015, but to Joe's point, thank you, Joe. When we get the comparative 2014 and 2015, it's really going to give us a 2-year track record.
Yeah.
Give us a little more insight
Get a
to
better picture.
maybe making plan design changes next year if needed. But the good thing is when you look at generic utilization, 86% of the prescriptions filled are generic, which is great. So, and if you compare that to their book of business, so this is just giving you a comparative to Optum Rx's book of business, and you all are, 6 points, 5-6 points ahead of that. Your plan paid per member per month, how much the plan is paying on pharmacies at $57.46, below the benchmark trend. So everything you look at there is good. When you get the average member paid RX, how much your members are paying, they're actually paying a little bit higher amount, but as you'll read in the notes, that's typical for groups with a high deductible health plan because they're paying all their pharmacy charges before anything's covered. They're not just paying $10 or $20. So you're tracking very well. The member cost share, you're 22.7%. So 22.7% of the cost of prescriptions the members are paying. As they recommend, they like to see it in the 20 to 25. Their book of business is actually below that, so you're really on target. The claims per member per month is the number of prescriptions the members are taking. So you're at 0.9 there, which is almost one prescription per person, but that's Randy taking 2, Joe takes none. Divide that out, we each take 1. So every one of your members is not taking a prescription, but you're averaging almost 1 prescription per covered life. But that could be somebody taking 6 prescriptions and 3 people taking none, as an example. Mail order is 16%. Sam brought up a good point we were talking beforehand. The one thing you're dealing with Optum Rx, they are a very large national Rx vendor. So they do drive you from a mail order perspective to non-local pharmacies, something we can look at next year. There's another PBM MedTrack that we can look at. Would bring in, excuse me, the local pharmacies on a 90-day opportunity there. There are some costs to make that transition from a business perspective, but we'll evaluate that for you all. Specialty utilization, those are the higher costing specialty medications, and we're just kind of below the trend. The concern long term with where pharmacy is going in the United States is big pharma is putting all their research and development into higher costing self-injectable specialty medications. From a humanitarian perspective, it can have wonderful outcomes for that member, but they are expensive. So as an example, right below that, the average specialty medication is $2,700 a month. The average brand is $223. The average generic is $30. So when your members are educated about taking a specialty for their condition, and that can be for multiple things, oncology, cancer medications, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, again, lots of drugs going through FDA approval, we're going to have more and more members taking these higher costing drugs. Knock on wood, we've ran really well there, but it's coming. So those are the things we'll talk about and try to stay ahead of. So, but pharmacy is doing very well. There's some other pages in there. We'll let you you can look at your leisure, but just those are usually the key statistics we look at. But unless you have any other specific questions on pharmacy, we'll jump to section 8. Section 8, we did talk to Optum Rx about any other clinical management type things that they would recommend. And the one thing that you all could do is do a mandatory mail program. It would force mandatory. Obviously, Sam goes against the idea of keeping some things local, which I totally respect. The thing that mentions here, there's only 2 scripts that would be affected by adding this program. The potential savings is $1,700. It's fairly small. But that would, if someone was getting a 90-day supply, and you already have a lot of people that are using it because it saves them money. But if you're on a maintenance type medication where you could be taking a 90-day supply and you're choosing to go and get it at your retail pharmacist currently, 30-day supply at a time, this would force you to take it through the mail order. So you would have to leave the retail relationship and go to mail order. Right now, the good news is most of your members have already done it, but it would force them to do it. So not a lot of savings to the county, but there is some savings there if that would be of interest. The page right behind that, this would affect your traditional plan with deductibles and co-payments and so forth. With ACA, you now have to have a top end limit on the total amount that someone can spend under the medical in their pharmacy. So on a traditional plan, it allows us to put 2 separate buckets. We've got a bucket, so to speak, on your deductibles, your coinsurance, and then you can also have a bucket on the pharmacy. And when you combine those buckets, if you will, they can't go over the amount. In 2015, our pharmacy bucket and medical are at the $6,613.2. For 2016, we can raise that to the amounts listed there, the $6,850 and $13,700. If you were going to do that, and from a business perspective, we would recommend it, you would add that to your pharmacy bucket. So you would raise the pharmacy up a little bit. And the reason, keep in mind that before this was enacted, members paid those co-payments forever. There was no ceiling. So this is still a benefit to the employee because now there's a cap. And just to jump back, if you'll kind of keep your hand on that section, and go back to section 2, if you can kind of look at both of those sections at once. If you go back to section 2, under the traditional PPO plan, in the bold print there, you'll see where it says, next to pharmacy co-payments, it says $3,600 individually and $7,200 per family. If you see those there, that's what we would recommend raising. So you would go to $3,850 and $7,700 to keep yourself at the max allowed by ACA. And on our original agenda page, under section 1, just so you don't have to make a lot of those notes yourself, under section 1, that's the bullet point, the last bullet point under the medical renewal is our recommendation to change those to keep up with the max allowed under ACA.
So are you in section 8? Is that what you're talking about?
If you go to section
Yes, 8 has
1, and then under the section 1, under the medical renewal bullet point, the very last bullet point there, it says increase the pharmacy copay maximum to the ACA January 1, 2016 new limits. And that's where you're going from $3,600 to $3,850, and a family from $72 to $77. So,
Okay.
so we would recommend that, which relates to your point, Chris, under section 8, where it talks about that legislatively. That's what that would reflect, and that's really the only suggestion we're making for a plan design change this year. You know, the plan's running very well, except for possibly raising your specific deductible from 50 to 60 or 75. Any questions on that piece? And again, keep in mind, it's still a benefit to your member because it gives them a cap, and they did not have a cap prior to that. Any questions
I guess
on
I'm
that?
a little confused
No
here.
problem.
So in
No
section
problem.
8, I'm seeing 6,600 and 13,200,
Right.
That's in 215.
2015, right?
So it's 3,000, we got a 3,000 ceiling on medical,
Mm-hmm.
but you can have a total of 6,600.
That's for
So we-
medical and
And
pharmacy.
pharmacy.
Okay.
Because once
Okay.
they meet that maximum, then everything's covered at 100%.
Okay. So it's 3,000 medical,
And then
3,600
36
pharmacy.
currently
Okay.
on the
Okay. Okay,
pharmacy.
That's where I did.
No,
I got
it
to catch
is
up, so-
confusing. Sorry, I should have explained that better. If you go back to section 2, again, I'm kind of having you all bounce around here, but
Right.
section 2, if you look at your plan design, and to Joe's point, thank you, Joe, if you look at those numbers where the bold 3,600, right above that is your
Your
medical
3,
out-of-pocket
okay.
of 3.
Now I
So,
follow.
so those two together is your 66, and then the 6,000 medical and the 7,200 is your 13,200.
Okay.
So what we're talking about is simply raising on the bolded numbers on the pharmacy, raising those to the numbers we talked
250
about.
and 500.
Yeah.
On a traditional plan design, they cannot bucket those. So medical and everything falls together into that maximum bucket.
Okay.
And what you all had decided was to keep them separate so that somebody who had a medical claim wouldn't pay all the way up to that full out-of-pocket.
Sure.
And that's why we split those out.
Okay.
So that would be a decision for the commission to consider. Section 9, we won't spend a lot of time here, except to let you know that Debbie's done a great job staying on top of this. So when you look at what's happening with more compliance on employers, 1/1/15 started the large employer responsibility rule with healthcare reform. That was pushed back from 1/1/14 to 1/1/15. That just means that you have to offer coverage that meets certain values, certain affordability, which the county does, to all your full-time employees working 30 hours or more. Now you have to report to the government on everything you're doing there, and that reporting is due during the first quarter of next year. And we've been working with Debbie and your payroll company, and I think, Debbie, you feel comfortable?
Yeah, BSNA is still working on it too. They don't have the final training out yet, so hopefully they assure me that they'll be ready. So,
But it's, you know, with ACA, you're seeing more and more compliance issues being put on business. Most businesses are looking to outsource that as much as they can. At the end of the day, you're still responsible for it. It's kind of like your COBRA. You know, we outsource that today. At the end of the day, yes, you're still coordinating who's employed and who's left, but you're seeing that generally is outsourced because of the complexity of that law. Something else we're starting to see more of is even on FMLA. Employers looking to possibly outsource that. There's, of course, a fee for that as well. But that law, again, continues to be a growing law of complexity and liability for employers. But ACA just adds to all of that, and it's a whole nother project. But that's going to be an annual report process that we have to do to comply with that. So, really, the last thing, Jody, you just want to talk about the ancillary. We didn't put anything in here on your ancillary dental vision, but if you just want to highlight the renewal of that.
Last year, we moved to Guardian Insurance, and we had rate guarantees for the basic life, AD&D, the voluntary life, and the vision insurance. We were able to negotiate a maximum renewal on the dental. They won't give guarantees because we are very heavy users on our dental. So we negotiated a cap of 8%, which we did get on the dental, but had we not negotiated that cap, it would have been a 19 because we use the devil out of the dental. So we're suggesting to accept that because that's still a good renewal on dental since we use it pretty heavy and the rest of the benefits are all in a hold.
And that's highlighted under section 1, 2 on the ancillary, just so you have it in writing there. So going back to that section 1, just the agenda, we've really talked through the medical renewal. So the decisions would be, do you want to change the stop loss to go to a higher deductible of the 60 or 75? And then the very last bullet point there again, change the RX out-of-pocket maximum to the 38.50 and 77. And other than that, really just accepting the also the increase from UMR. They're going up just a little bit on their third-party administration fee, as we talked about, and then the ancillary renewal. And then really, again, it kind of goes back to Chris's point, after we get all the information from 2015, which will be out, April of next year, we'll be able to really look at 2 full years of partial self-funding, and from there, relook at other benefit design options going into 1/1 of 17, deductibles, co-insurance, co-payments. But again, I would commend the county and the employees because they've obviously been wise consumers. Your health plan is running extremely well.
And increasing that ceiling on your drugs. Most people aren't getting anywhere near that out-of-pocket maximum on that. If someone is, they're most likely using those specialty medications where we put on that percentage to a max. And when you consider that even at the percentage they're paying to the maximum, that's still a lot less money than what those medications cost.
Any other questions?
I just want to make sure on the proposal that I'm understanding it right. Basically, the county can save money if we go with the lower or higher deductible rather. But if we stay with the lower one, we're actually going to save the users or the employees more money.
Well, it won't affect the very good point, Jeff. The employees, this bottom line number, this ceiling, that number will fluctuate depending on which deductible you're buying, but it doesn't really affect your employees. Those employees are going to pay. The employees are covered under your 2 different plans of whatever they choose, and they really
so
don't.
down here on the bottom, that's not what they're paying?
No, that's what you all are ultimately, what the employees are paying is either, depending on which medical plan they're on, they're paying their appropriate deductible, co-insurance, co-payments. You all are paying claims up to that current $50,000 for any individual, and anything under that is accumulating towards this ceiling, this aggregate coverage. So the employees really don't play into the mix here. They do because they're insured, but this all comes down to how much the county is paying on those claims before reinsurance kicks in. So individually, you're paying up to the first 50 currently, and then as an aggregate of all your covered lives, you're going to pay up to one point, call it $8 million before the aggregate coverage kicks in. So I know that's confusing.
It's not clearing anything.
So basically, the employees don't pay anything. We pay everything for the employees except co-pays, pharmacy, whatever. The only thing that the employee is paying is for dependent coverage and spouse coverage, and we're paying a portion of that.
Right, and I think where I'm trying to make myself clear, Jeff, is these premiums down here are not necessarily relative to the premiums. I mean, you all are setting your premiums, so the physical premiums you're charging the employees, we're not suggesting making a change off of any option you change here. So they'll still pay, unless you all want to make a premium change this year, you know, they're still gonna pay the appropriate amount for their dependents.
Okay, that's
But-
keeping that the same then?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it
sorry,
went up
that-
last year, or was it last year or the year before when we ate the increase?
Yeah.
Last year we kept it the same as the year before.
Because
Okay, that's where I.
And, no, very good point. And in doing that,
It was 2 years ago that we ate the
Yeah,
increase.
2
It
years
was-
ago.
Yeah.
yeah,
Before we went to the self.
Right, yeah, before we went to self-funded, partially
Right.
self-funded.
what's
And
a
it was-
little.
It was what, 12%, or, I mean, it was
It
quite
was
a bit.
sizable.
Yeah, and, but maybe we could, to hopefully help make that point a little bit more, when you're fully insured, you basically are buying that premium. So United gives you, I'm just gonna use employee rates of, United has a rate of 400, Blue Cross quotes us and they're at, 425, Coventry quotes us at 375, well, we say, hey, let's take the lowest rate if it's still good coverage and all that, so we buy that. We're giving them all the premium, they take all the risk, the next year we have a renewal, we look at numbers again, you kind of chase premium, if you will, in the fully insured world. Partial self-funded, you break all these pieces apart, buy your reinsurance, and still you still come up with a premium that's relative to the employees paying an appropriate premium for their families and so forth, but your claims are gonna fluctuate of how much you totally have. That's the beauty of self-funding. Instead of giving all that money to the insurance carrier, you're paying these fixed costs, these hard dollars. The rest of that is sitting in your bank account, and you're not paying that out until it's incurred, processed with a discount, and paid. So now that total amount you'll spend is going to fluctuate a little bit each year. Just like if you stay fully insured, your premiums will fluctuate depending on your utilization, if you will. But your premiums, and again, with the claims being good, low, you haven't had the need to necessarily charge the employees more for covering their family members. But if we would be, every employer's conversation is not this way, so the county's in a very good position, but there's times we're talking to employers about, hey, your claims were 1.8 million, you're getting a humongous increase, all these things are going up, and then when you look at cost shifting, you either change deductibles and coinsurance and so forth, and you charge the members more when they go in, or you charge people more in premium to be on the plan, or both. You all have just enjoyed 2 really good years where you haven't had to affect premiums. Long term, will we have to make plan changes? Realistically so, because in my point of the county keeping a $50,000 deductible forever, it'll get to the point it doesn't make sense to do that. For the employees, they're on a $1,000 deductible today, and it's a great benefit. Over 5 years from now, to think that deductible, I'm just talking about it from a business standpoint, to think that deductible will be at $1,000 5 years from now, it can be, but the county will be picking up more and more and more of the cost. Over time, those deductibles will have to come up, just like I talked about with car insurance and everything else, in general. With that said, obviously you all get back to the culture of the employees and pay increases and all that, and that all comes into play. But you all still have a very, very good health plan, relatively low out-of-pocket costs for your members. There's a lot of plans with deductibles well over $1,000 out in the market today. So the commission's done a very good job of still offering very good benefits, and the employees have again done a good job of being good consumers because it's ran well. So not a lot of changes, really. Just but I don't know if that helps answer your question, Jeff. It's premium-wise, you don't have to make changes. So.
How long do y'all want to be here? Because I guess I'm not understanding how, if we increase the deductible, and it saves us, okay, if we go 75% or 75,000, it saves us 50 grand
100
on
grand.
this 75.
Saves us 100.
Why does the bottom line number go up?
Well,
On our fixed cost, it saves us 100 grand on our fixed cost.
Right.
From,
overall though, it's going to save us 46,000.
Well,
But if we stay at 50, overall, it's saving us 81,000 on that bottom line.
Yeah, but the bottom line is not, is soft dollars, because that, right now, that bottom line number, then let's just stick
It
with.
could be anything.
Well, it can't be more than that, it can be less. Let's stick with that thought.
Okay.
So currently, if you look at the current plan, you have your fixed cost of 522,000. Those are hard dollars. The ceiling that you're buying is this 1,792,000. So let's call it 1.8 million. That's the ceiling. So when you add those two together, you're at 2,315,000. But you all are running well below that ceiling. So this number, this is where it's different than fully insured. If this was a fully insured number from United Healthcare, yes, you'd be writing them a check for that amount of money, then you have a true up at the end of the year. Partial self-funding, you're only paying out that 522,000. If you all had no claims at all,
Okay. now
you would
that
only
makes
spend
sense.
522,000.
All right.
The rest of that is soft dollars.
Don't say any more.
Got it,
He's got it.
Yeah,
got it.
I wasn't looking at it that way. Okay.
So, just a couple questions. What are you seeing in the market today for other businesses out there? Are they still seeing double-digit increases?
Chris, if they're fully insured, most businesses are seeing double-digit increases, especially and unfortunately, small employers are getting hammered in the fully insured market.
Okay. And then, do we need to make some decisions today?
None of this,
I'm direct.
I would, the stop loss does not really affect your plan design, whether you choose the 50, the 60, or the 75 now or a week from now or whenever, doesn't matter. The only thing that you do need to decide is, yeah,
This is a firm contract until the 21st of October. After that, they're subject to look at more claims, and they could raise it. So these numbers we have are firm until 10/21, and I don't know that Randy noticed that on my paper, so that's why I wanted you guys to know that.
so
So
we
that
got
is
a week.
firm, and
you got a week.
the only thing is, Deb also is trying to work around, getting the scheduling done so they have time to get the system ready too. So,
Okay.
you might talk with her too.
The main decision, I think that Deb will need to know pretty quick, is if you're gonna raise that pharmacy from the 3,600 to the 3,850 like we talked about. We need to let United know that, UMR know that, because we have to create new plan designs, and then that'll go out. This is your open enrollment for employees to decide, do they want to be on the insurance for them and their family, and which plan do they want? So we'll need to update that plan of benefits. So
Okay.
that, the sooner you know, the sooner we can get packets put together.
Kind of, they got some cafeteria plans starting on the 28th of this month. So, of course, we'd like to get it to them at least a
Yeah.
week or so ahead of time.
So next week?
So we can make,
Saying today.
Today would be one.
When's the 20?
But we can wait till the end of the meeting to talk about it some more.
Yeah.
I don't care. Talk about it now.
so I'll tell you where I'm
Make
at.
sausage.
So, the 50,000, minimum on was kind of a risky thing when we did it. It seems like it's worked well. I'm more apt to gamble a little bit and raise it to the 75. And then as far as the pharmacy and stuff, I'd take their recommendation and raise it to the ceiling to the 3,850 and the 7,700. That's just where I'm at. The 8% on the renewal on the life, dental, all that.
Just the dental.
Yeah, just the dental.
Everything else is
What,
on a
what was,
hold.
what was, do you know what the total cost on that was?
What did I tell you?
Just, do you have a rough idea?
Probably have it with me. You guys go ahead and talk about the rest. I'll pull it out.
All right.
Well, see, I'm like you on the prescription. I'm a little more cautious. I'd just go up to 60,000 deductible, but
I live on the edge. I'm going 75.
well,
I think definitely need to change it, but I was leaning,
Yeah.
I already circled the 75. I think we've had, 2 this year? It may go up to possibly 4 at the most, and even at that, we'd still be.
Break even.
So,
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that, and then the other recommendations I was fine with too.
So do we need a motion
Yeah.
to do this, or?
yeah.
Okay. So I move that we raise the stop loss renewal to 75,000 and the pharmacy copay to 3,850 and 7,700.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll eye it too.
And then are we waiting to do the dental until we have something?
I want to stay healthy.
Or do we go ahead and vote?
The dental, we usually change it every couple of years. We just kind of go back and forth to get the best price from the vendor. We kind of went down when we went with Guardian last year. It's kind of better to stay with the company for at least 2 years before you go switching back to another company. Would you say that's true?
You say high use, mean, that
Just-
means you all use them
just
a lot, or that
overall.
means we have our
Just
employees use it.
just overall, when you look at the premium you pay and the amount of claims they're paying out, the employee, rightfully so, they're using the benefits. So the carrier's looking at, you know, where they're at premium wise versus utilization, so they're bumping it up to 8%. But we had that cap built in. To Joe's point, we wouldn't
So
have
they
leave it
sucked
out
us
higher.
in last year, now they're gonna bump it up.
But we got the cap, we got the cap in there, so they couldn't hit us with the 19. So,
Currently, we're paying $27 an employee per month, it'd be about 29 something.
That's what I'm thinking, it's about $2.
$2 times 12 times 284,
24 times 330.
302. If everybody takes it, most everybody does take it, and,
Do,
and then they pay for their
$1,500.
families.
and then they pay for the dependents, yes.
Or did I forget to carry a zero?
Sure.
I was trying to do the math while you was ciphering there.
Around 6,000, probably around 6,000
$7,000.
total.
And
I
again, the
didn't-
usage would have brought it up to about,
Yeah, a lot more.
Would have brought it to 19.
I'm good with sticking with the dental carrier.
Yep.
I don't know, do we need a motion on that too?
I don't wanna have to change it at my dentist office again.
We don't need a motion unless
You
you all
need a-
do, we'll just renew it.
So,
let's go ahead since we did it on the
Okay.
health
You
insurance.
want-
so I move that we engage the dental carrier at an 8% rate cap.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you need a
Okay.
motion on UMR's fee increase? or no?
I found my coffee.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna kind of change our schedule around a little bit, no offense, Ralph, but we've got the Wilson Group here, and I'm sure they really enjoyed this presentation. And I hate, you know, we got lots of other stuff where we get to you, which I'm sure
Thanks,
you
Randy.
really.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you all.
I'm sure you really like to hear all this, but,
Riveting.
Riveting. Thanks.
You hope it's your first and last, huh?
but anyway, we had
Thanks, Joe.
put our windows out for bid, and the Wilson Group, you were the lowest bidder, so we just thought we'd bring you in and meet you and make
Thanks for
sure.
the time. I bid the project. I know there was some questions after bid day. There was some disparity. Sometimes it's the nature of the competitive bid process. We would have loved to have been a nickel under the second guy, but in this scenario, it's borne a good value for the county.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone back through all my numbers. We do these kind of projects routinely, so we're confident in our math and in our numbers. There's no mistakes that we've found. We feel good about it. I mean, from where we sit, it's an exciting project and one we would like to do for the county.
The only question I have is, you know, ideally, we're gonna be opening up all these offices and stuff, and so you have ways to close things up, I mean, with these curtain walls and different things, at the end of the day, to keep the building secure, and, you know, and then, of course, the other thing is when are we gonna do this, you know, that the weather's gonna be decent.
Those are two big factors, especially where we're working.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here with Scott, who's our vice president.
Mhm.
He handles a lot of work in
Okay.
federal courthouses and in sensitive environments, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
I handle all of our window work, and kind of our rule of thumb is if you take a window out in a given day, it's got to go back in. And if at all possible, we want to be in a given room one time. It's more efficient for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's less of a strain on the end user, whoever's in that office, if we only interrupt them for one day and we're not constantly coming back and forth. So from where we sit, we're not reinventing the wheel. We've done this enough that we've kind of got a system like that that has proven successful in a lot of these projects. So we would just implement those same things here.
Okay.
Yeah, Judge Beadham was in my store Saturday, and we were talking about this, and he's, you know, the judges, they have trials already set. He says he does about 175 divorces a year. So, you know, it's kind of like, how are we going to work around trials and all this other thing. So I think we're gonna have to come up with some way to kind of shift them around, I guess.
Do you want new windows or not?
Well,
You're gonna have to deal with some
Yeah,
of
we'll
that
work
stuff.
up a schedule and work around it, so.
okay.
Of course, there's many times where those courtrooms aren't being
Oh, I
used
know.
where they can move their,
I was gonna
Well,
go there.
There's always one.
they can move courtrooms. There's plenty of them that are
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah.
Well, one of the suggestions, talking with John, is maybe to see if we can use the federal courthouse too. So I did ask Senator Blunt's representative today to see if we could do something like that. But, you know, our judges are we're gonna have to work around their schedules too, to a certain extent.
And we're used to that.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work at the federal courthouse.
Are you gonna commute every day, or are you gonna stay
They'll stay here.
Stay here? Okay, work 410s or?
Yeah, more than likely, whatever's convenient. A lot of times we'll come in, because I know court usually doesn't start till around 9 usually. So a lot of times our guys will come in 5 or 6 in the morning and try to get stuff done noise-wise before court starts. So we're used to working around that.
A bit about winter is, I guess, a decision for you guys. We can work in the cold weather. It just becomes a comfortability issue. Obviously, we do what we can to block the space, but opening up a building in the wintertime has some realities that go along with it. So we can wait till spring if need be to do the actual installations. Windows are a long lead time item anyways, so even if I placed an order today, we wouldn't have windows here for 12 weeks or so. So we'll eat up, in all likelihood, a good bit of winter just waiting on our windows.
Is there scaffolding outside and all the way up? Is that how you do it, or
I use a lift with
Yeah.
parking is a premium around?
it. Oh, yeah.
We
So-
have plenty of parking. People are just too lazy to walk.
We can maybe work something out with the Baptist convention or something like that to at least
Oh, they
rent some
have to walk
spaces.
up a
for
hill, oh
them.
my God.
So the-
Judges here, not me.
The one thing that, of course, we got two buildings. We
We're
got
required to give them parking.
this building, the annex, and of course the courthouse too. And so we've applied for a grant for the courthouse. Whether we get that or not, it's another story. But so I don't know if we want to proceed with one and just kind of wait to hear if we get the grant award for the other. But I don't, I realize you guys probably need to know on the total project if we're doing both or one or the other, just to get those windows ordered, or could we proceed with one and then let you know as soon as possible that we're going to do this other one.
Yeah. The only real impact is timing.
Scheduling and stuff.
The sooner we know, the sooner we order windows, and obviously that trickles down throughout the schedule. So
Okay.
certainly, if we're cut loose on one building, we'll dig in.
Okay.
Yeah, so probably be better to do this building first, I would think, and, no, one of the other bidders was saying that there was gonna be some possible damage to the roof that would have to be repaired and all that, and you're gonna take care of all that, and,
That might have to do with how they were planning on staging the work. If they were gonna use a swing stage scaffolding, that was gonna sit on the roof and might cause some of the collateral damage that they're talking about.
okay.
I think Scott had mentioned if we use a lift, we won't even touch the
Okay.
roof, so that would be our plan.
So if we awarded the entire project to the Wilson Group, and that wouldn't void any issues we would have with,
No,
With the grant?
No. The only thing with the grant is it cannot be used retroactively for what you pay. I mean, if you go ahead and engage them, and they said there's a 3-month lead time for windows. So we're gonna find out about the grant in December.
Yeah,
So those windows aren't even gonna arrive we wouldn't be paying for those till after December anyway, right? So it would all be, you know, just as long as what you pay for is after you're awarded the grant, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It's important to note too, that even as if we move through contracting and such, that we would create shop drawings, which takes some time. We'd scour the building, getting very finite measurements, and all that will take some time to figure out. So even from today to the date of placing the order, there's some time in between there as well, in addition to just the lead time of windows.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. I just, I want to get it done. I want to get both of them done. Whether we get the grant or we don't get the grant, I still think we need to move forward on both. And that's just where I'm at. So,
Well, we're gonna have more deterioration. The longer we wait, the more deterioration we've got. The cost of the windows is not gonna get any cheaper. So, yeah, I agree too.
So we don't have to pay for any windows when you order them? You're not gonna require any payment on that, because I know when I order windows, especially custom windows, I'm not gonna be the one sitting there stuck with them if somebody changes their mind.
Well,
I'm not saying we're gonna change our mind though, but
once they go into manufacturing, we would then have an obligation to that manufacturer, but
so we could award
For that money.
the contract today, wait to order till after we hear
No,
about the
Jeff.
grant, and then that gives us 12 weeks, gets us into spring. I think it makes sense doing the windows in the spring than doing it in the dead cold of winter.
sure.
I just think we could work with them on that part.
that plan makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like that.
Will the cost of the windows go up in the meantime?
I would think so, and especially if we tell them it's contingent upon the deal, I'm sure they'll hold their price.
Okay, well, I just wanna,
I want to get it done too.
I do
agree.
too, yeah.
And I think even if we don't get the grant, that I'd like to get it done.
Yeah,
But that grant would be a nice little,
it would help.
afraid
yeah.
it costs it
Mhm.
that much, so.
I mean, the window portion, I don't know how it all figures out in your numbers or whatever, but the windows themselves are probably just a certain number of the whole project. I mean, I'm sure the labor's probably a lot more than the windows are. So, anyway, I mean, whether the grant is for the labor to install the windows or the actual windows, what's it really matter? So, anyway. I mean, I move that we award the contract to Wilson Group for the annex and the courthouse.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a question. Did you guys decide then that you wanted to do the operable windows in the annex?
Too late now.
Well, we're gonna bribe all the employees that want operable windows.
Well, it's
Well,
included.
there wasn't, there, on yours,
So,
there was,
It's included in there.
there wasn't a difference in price, though. So.
Yeah, there was. There was some amount
There was
per
a-
window.
there was a
Let me tell you,
deduct.
the courthouse,
$27 a
with
window.
their temperature control issues, they really need to
But
be
their
able-
base bid was with operable windows?
Correct.
In the
Aye.
back of the RFP response, there's some elevations, and you can actually see where the vents are located if you look through these takeoff sheets. The little V indicates an operable vent, so.
Put these in the right way too, so we don't have to.
We awarded the base bid, so I think it was with operable windows. Is that correct? Yeah.
I'm kind of in between on that because we've got heat going over there and they got windows open. We got air conditioning going, they got windows open. So, but on the other hand, it's a hard place to heat and cool over there.
It's an old
Either
building.
that way we can buy them sweaters and fans. I don't know.
We did not include those.
Oh. You can put your logo on the back.
We do
Just
need
get the
to
operable, that's part of the base bid. That's
Talk about
fine.
later transferring money in order to actually sign that contract.
It's fine. Well, we'll have to get that on the agenda. We just awarded the bid today, so, right. So we'll have to get that on contract signature.
Right, and decide where you want to pay it from.
Sure.
And when it's gonna be paid.
Well, as soon as you sign that
Well,
contract.
as soon as you sign the contract, it has to be covered.
Okay. Well, we can do
But
that.
if we encumber, can we get the grant? So would you have to encumber it after the grant?
We can let loose of some of that accounting.
Yeah, I wouldn't be counting on it. First off, the max we can get is 100,000, and when you consider it's only 350,000 for the entire state.
No matter what, you would still have to encumber the entire contract, because you have to spend it before you can get reimbursed for it, so
Okay.
you would have to encumber
I
the
thought we
entire
weren't
amount
supposed to
and then
spend
be
it before we
reimbursed.
got reimbursed for it.
Well, just
I
before
thought we
it's
weren't
awarded.
supposed to spend it before we got awarded the grant.
Most grants work that you have to prove that you incurred the cost
Well, there's
before the
confusion
reimbursement,
here.
but you
My
can,
good grief.
Don't spend it before you're awarded the
You
grant.
can
Yeah.
encumber it before you're awarded the grant, though.
Well, that's
Right.
irrelevant. They don't care about your accounting. They just don't want you paying for stuff before that you.
you
paying-
can't retroactively.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
can't
Yeah.
pay for it now and then get the grant and say yes. You can be awarded the grant and then they
That's what I
require
was
you to
getting
prove
at.
that it's.
We can
fit.
encumber it, we just can't
The
write the
term
check
is
yet.
supplanting, as Michael pointed out.
So I don't think we have any more questions for you guys.
And you're welcome to stay.
Yeah, we
got
look-
good- we have some other good.
We look
good
forward to
issues.
working with you, and
Thank you.
if you're smart, you'll run.
Thank you guys for coming in, appreciate it, look forward to working with you.
Well, I just,
Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Greg.
thank you. Okay, unfinished business. Sorry about that, Ralph, but I just thought, these poor guys, they got other things to do.
Yeah,
Uh,
because Ralph doesn't. That is mean, Sam.
Yeah, all right, well, I figure after putting them through the insurance, discussion of recorder of deeds part-time employee request.
This is what we talked about last week.
I think so.
Yes.
What were we gonna talk about?
He had requested a part-timer to do some scanning, so that's why we wanted him back up here today to answer any questions you guys had about that. We talked about a memorandum of understanding with his fund.
That would just be till the end of the year?
That's some of the questions that you guys wanted to
Okay,
ask.
because I thought that it was still in the budget, we was gonna okay it till the end of the year or not?
There's nothing currently in the budget for part-time for that purpose. He did request earlier another part-timer
Oh,
to
maybe
be a
a brain
permanent
fart.
part-timer, so you can explain it.
There may be confusion due to exactly what I'm doing with this position. I was here a month or two ago asking about a part-time position that would, and the purpose of that position was to help the staff with the day-to-day operations of running the office. The person I talked to you before would be up there in the front office doing the day-to-day activities. And as I interpret the statutes, that funding the daily operation of the office is a lot of times general revenue and commissioners' approval. On the other hand, but this position I'm talking about, I'm not calling, in order to differentiate, I'm calling this a temporary position. This position is going to be paid for out of the recorder's fund, and this person is coming in on a part-time basis, 20 hours a week. But her only responsibility, her only duty will be to help with preservation documents in the back room. This person that I'll be paying for out of the recorder's fund will not be involved in the day-to-day activities. This person will be coming in to do data entry and indexing documents, and also scanning plats and surveys. So this person will be coming in, and how long it lasts, I don't know. We have about 80,000 entries that need to be made before this part of the project will be done. We're digitized pretty much right now from present back to 1999. This project will begin in 1999 and eventually conclude with the records all the way back to 1969. So this person's coming in and getting old documents digitized so they'll be more easily accessible. Once that project's done, she's gone. Or if she gets bored with what she's doing, she'll be gone, because it's going to be, she only has a couple of things to do, and it's all data entry. Her position, she'll probably be working in the back room or there's a good chance she'll be actually working in the background. The end result will be information. Right now, when people come in, and for that period, 1969 and 1999, researchers have to come in and go through these 80 books to find what they're looking for before they can pull up the documents or the image. By digitizing these records from 1969 to 1999, a person can come in the office and just sit down at the computer and enter the data, and those images, the documents, will show up on the computer. So what we're trying to do is provide better services to the community, to the users, to the county. And we're trying to save the wear and tear on these books that are also very costly to maintain as well. We're talking to a contractor to also come in and fix some of our books because they've been so heavily used over the years. So I think there's some confusion in what I was here for before, and we took care of that at that time. And also, what we talked about before, that is in my proposed budget for 2016, that person we talked about before, that was going to get involved with the day-to-day stuff. On the other hand, this is entirely different.
This is just till the end of the year.
Or until they're finished with
Where the
1999
end of
and
the year came
69.
from is I've talked to Debbie and I've also talked to Jill about this position to make sure I was proceeding appropriately and using, in my opinion, using the recorder's fund appropriately. Because I think this person I'm bringing in for this preservation project, I believe it should be paid out of the recorder's fund and not general revenue. So what we talked about with Debbie is the possibility that for accounting purposes, Debbie may move funds over from the recorder's fund at the end of the year, rather than every 2 weeks or so. Now, how long this position lasts, or how long this person stays, it's going to take a long time to get this project completed. But I'd like to start so we can start showing progress in this area of digitizing more things and making more information more readily available to the public. So, but this person's will be working part-time. She'll have no benefits. When she gets bored with this work, she might start looking for something else, and then we'll reevaluate to see if we want to continue this at the time or in the future. But this is important to me to get this process started. It could last 3 months, could last 6 months. I don't see it lasting more than a year.
And what we talked about was the year memorandum of understanding. It usually runs on a calendar year. So if you agree, we just do it to the end of December, and then we start another one for next year. Because of budget purposes, not so much anything to do with how long it will take that position to work. So.
Another project that's been going on in the office prior to my arrival. Judy, when did the marriage license project start, digitizing all the marriage licenses?
2009.
In 2009, and that project is expected to be completed before the end of the year, digitizing the marriage licenses.
Indexing them.
Indexing them, so that you can come in and readily find them, and not have to go in the vault, to look for them.
Are they available on your website eventually? Or not? You'll be able to access it to the website if we get a new?
Eventually.
Eventually, we will open up some of our records that are digitized. Eventually, we will make those readily available.
People wouldn't have to come into the office to search it?
Correct. I expect that will happen next year, in 2016. So do you have any questions on the
You're just
difference?
bringing us up into the 21st century.
Yes, yeah. And that's what the Recorder's Fund supports and is for. And that's why I'm not asking for general revenue for this one specific project. Because by definition, state statutes, not that you could not get involved, but I'm comfortable that this is a Recorder's Fund project, since it's so specific in preservation.
And it meets all the requirements of the Missouri Department of Revenue as far as record preservation of,
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, my God.
I just saying.
We're like the clerk's office.
Well, they have to-
Circuit clerk, let me clarify.
Yes, they
That's-
have.
See, like,
They have to
no.
go by those guidelines too.
Don't sue us. If you have to keep pieces of paper around to become paperless, it don't make sense. Well, you can be paperless, but you have to have 6 rolls of microfilm stored in 14 different places that are tornado-proof and waterproof and fireproof. Okay, I'm off on tangent.
Did you used to work in the recorder's office, didn't you?
I just can't stand all the paper and then they have this antiquated system of storing it on microfilm, microfiche, when you have digital that you can store out in space.
I think we should all
I
get a
think-
microfilm reader, and we should do our agendas on microfilm.
On that subject, I think the recorder's offices in Missouri, I think, is in a transition period over that very thing. You know, realizing the full potential of computers and that technology versus, you know, and having that ability, just digitizing everything. On the other hand, recorders' offices historically have been charged with preserving documents. And so changing your whole mindset of the recorder's office perhaps is not preserving documents. Maybe the recorder's office is actually preserving information. And in fact, I think that's going to be a topic for the recorder's annual meeting next year. The microfilm versus digitizing and stuff like that. There are some offices where you go in and you give them your stuff, and then they give it right back to you after it's scanned into the computer. And we do a lot of that also. But there are also a lot of documents like plats and surveys in which we now, since April, we've had the capability to simply scan them into the computer. But we are also still holding on to the original. So there's a preservation project. It's temporary and being paid for by the Recorder's Fund. I've estimated, I'm willing to commit $15,000 towards this project at the time, and that would take, and if we exhaust that amount, that would provide for a year of this activity. But at some point, I'll look at it, reevaluate it after 3 months, 6 months, see how it's going, how much progress is being made, see if there's a better way to do it, and so on and so forth. So that's what we have going on there. Any questions?
Boy, that's a boring job.
I tell you what, I told somebody a while back, when I go out there in public, I tell them all the exciting things we're doing. You know, I'm so excited about it and ready to share about all this exciting stuff, but when I'm listening to what I'm talking, it sounds so boring. I look at all the room and I think they're bored to death too.
Yeah.
It's hard to make this stuff sound interesting, but actually you get back there with all those old documents and all the old deeds and marriage licenses and wills and things, and it's actually a pretty exciting business, isn't it, Judy?
Well,
I'm good with it, so I
Yeah.
don't know where you're at, Jeff,
Oh,
through the end of the year.
yeah, I don't like the MOUs at all, but with that coming from the Recorder's Fund, I think that's exactly what that fund should be used for, is that kind of stuff, so. And speaking of antiquated, that's what the Recorder's Office used to be, so I appreciate you bringing it at least up to the 90s now.
yeah,
We'll get to the
I
2000s
think
real
you're doing an
soon.
awesome job, Ralph, so that's,
We'll work on a memorandum of understanding and bring that back for your all signature.
yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, accounts payable review.
I move that we approve accounts payable.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion of budget transfer for food services at the Pringer Family Center.
This was a budget transfer, I gave you guys last week, and you just wanted Michael up here to give you a little insight on where we're gonna be at the end of the year.
I think we were just curious why we are over. Do we have more people, or what's going on with it, Michael?
We have more folks, and we have Just to give you just a rough idea, 'cause I wasn't sure where you were looking for, and I compared 14 with 15, where we are right now. Last year, for 2014, for breakfast, we provided 3,095 breakfasts. And so far this year, just through September, we provided 2,500 breakfasts. For lunch, 2,900 so far this year, and that is just through September, 2,300. We're 500 breakfasts over, and we're going to expect even more. My count has been high from last year to this year. Also, our reimbursement is going to be higher that we get back from our breakfast and lunch program. Last year, we got 41,300 back. We're projecting for this year 47,000 to come back to the county. So we're getting reimbursed at a higher rate than we did last year. And then also, that's from USDA. Also from Social Services, we get a reimbursement back on our folks that we have there too. Last year, we got a reimbursement of $14,370, and so far this year, we've gotten a reimbursement of $16,000 through September 15th. We anticipate another $4,500 on top of that. So our numbers are high, but we're getting reimbursed also. But I'm not asking for an increase. I'm asking to be able to transfer from within our accounts in order to cover it. Another area that I have to admit that we had one provider did not send us bills for 2 months, which kind of skewed our accounting and didn't look at it, because we would normally get about $2,500 bill, but it came in at $7,000, which I thought we were sitting real pretty at September, but then that bill came in and that cut us right in half. So I'm going to do a little bit better observations next year in looking at our that account and making sure that the things are going. I know that in the past, we had the issue when it came to professional services, and I have a dollar amount you can't exceed on a monthly basis. So I'm going to have to do that on the food service. I'll put a dollar amount that you cannot exceed and make sure that I have that as we go throughout the year, unless there's something new that comes up. I'm not asking for an increase. I'm asking for transfers from existing dollars that we have. But also, you'll see we're getting reimbursement back for the higher number of folks that we've had in our residential and detention facilities over what I had planned for and what's actually coming in.
So, as I look at your sheet here, Michael,
Yes.
it just seems like since October of, and I say October of 14, but our numbers have just gradually increased.
Yes, yes. And the cost for food has increased over time too. So,
I mean, where we were kind of 5 or 6 early in 14, now we're 9, 10, 12, 13.
That's right. And another issue we have right now is that we're getting a little bit more serious folks coming in, so they're just not coming into detention and being let out.
I see.
We've got folks coming in because of weapons charges and things of that nature, and they're not getting out as quick as possible. We're also looking at other avenues and working with those individuals too. So,
Are they waiting for their court dates or what?
court, yes, court doesn't, because of so much else going on. I'm not going to even go there. I'm not going there.
Because, I mean, maybe they need to speed that along a little bit. Try to help defray some of the costs.
That's why I laughed.
So your cells are full.
What are we feeding?
No,
them?
cells
They
are
get
not
little
full.
bread and
No.
water and get these little.
No, but the thing is, though,
Bunks.
we are not, because
Turn
of
around.
USDA, they are telling us that there's certain things they can't have. So we make sure that you don't have the saturated fats, you don't
Well,
have.
the sheriff's even made a point that they're not necessarily guilty until proven so, even when they're in there, even though they got their hand in the cookie jar. So, I think my question was just why is it
We have more
so
people.
much more?
We have
It's
more people and the costs have gone up. I'm
Okay.
asking for an increase in our budget for next year, though, for food, for about $5,000. I think I already contacted the auditor in regards regards to that.
I'd say
Sure.
looking at the numbers, it's probably gonna have to be. Or we'll
Yes.
be back here doing the transfer again next year.
Yes.
You're saying that you're basically getting reimbursed for all this food?
Yes, and that's the income coming in.
Yes, kinda, sorta.
Sort of, yes.
I mean, there's a program, Child Nutrition, that they get reimbursed so much per meal.
For your
and
reduced
It is not
price.
necessarily the cost that we're paying for
No.
the meal, but,
Then we have another account we get per body, which.
right, they also get an amount
Exceeds.
per day for
Right.
each child.
Right,
Okay.
so. when you
From the
combine-
state or?
From the state, social
Okay.
services. You add those two
But that's no
together.
different than the $22 we get from the state per
Right, inmate.
inmate, which doesn't cover
Sure.
costs. so-
Doesn't cover the total
So
cost,
total
but
cost,
it's.
But it helps
yeah.
defray
Right.
some of our costs
Mm-hmm.
of what we do. And then we also get another cost for folks that we have in residential, because that it's a higher rate, which doesn't, it defrays the total cost for residential in our operation of our program.
Well, it is what it is. I was.
Well, we're gonna have to
curious
buy
what
them
it
some
was.
sweaters and fans so that they can keep their heating and cooling down.
You're, we have to buy everybody sweaters and sweaters and stuff, man, I tell you.
Just an update, they have started on our heating and cooling is going real good, so, and I think between Greg and I and the contractor, we've got a good understanding, so when we're moving folks out of sections so they can get in,
Good.
and they're really efficient in
Good.
coming
Well,
in, so
that's- yeah,
I feel
that's-
pretty good about it.
I'm gonna order some sweaters, just get some pink ones, that way everybody's aware. I just wanna
That's
make
only
sure-
for
That's
October.
That's
Huh?
October only.
No, that's all year long they have cancer awareness. I guess apparently people are not aware of it, so they need to have more pink crap. I don't have any problem with the pink crap, I just have a problem with people
You're
making
good.
money off of it. Yeah, run, Michael.
Yeah, nobody wants
I'm
to
up.
stay around very long.
But you wanna charge extra for a pink shirt? Who gets money for that? The cancer people don't.
No,
Most of
Nike
it
and
goes to
Under
the
Armour and
NFL.
everybody else.
Okay.
Maybe
got
we should make some pink shirts.
The first reading of budget adjustments.
So we have
number
pink shirt
12.
day? Is that October? All of October, Sam?
Yes, it is.
Supposed
So
to
we're
be.
gonna wear pink one day?
Yeah, I think
This month at
so.
one commission meeting?
We could do that.
Sam's gonna
You got a
provide
pink
us with
shirt?
some shirts.
I don't have one.
I've already got one from you.
Do you have a pink shirt?
Yeah, I do.
Hey,
I'm
real
about to
men
go
wear
get one.
pink.
Real men wear camouflage. Shut up.
Well, they got pink camo.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, this is first
Okay.
reading of budget.
Yeah, let's go back to the first reading of budget
I
adjustment
kinda
number
like the
12.
idea of having a pink day.
Yeah.
It's for $80,767.26. It's for the Mustang grant. There's no action needed today.
gonna buy a
We'll
shirt,
hold
though.
it for 10 days. And we'll
Just a question on that. I thought that was for, you said Mustang grant? I thought that was for the conceal and carry. Was I looking at something wrong?
They haven't done the transfer for conceal and carry yet.
Yeah, this was on the Mustang one.
Okay.
Did I have it attached or something?
Well, where'd that go?
Is it,
Um,
may have got the wrong one attached.
Is this one here?
Yeah. Go down on it, or to the second page of it, should be, yeah, that's the, did I read it? No, I said Mustang.
Mustangs.
Okay. I don't know where I saw that.
But we still have to do another one on the other one, yeah. I'm just waiting on the, who we're hiring.
Our brunch is gonna be lunch pretty soon.
Sorry, just, no action, moving
Oh,
on.
I didn't
Okay.
say you
Thanks.
had to hurry up.
No
I was
action.
just looking at the time and.
Okay, discussion of cafeteria plan fee. That includes the brunch.
Huh?
Cafeteria plan fee.
Oh,
Yeah, that includes the brunch.
Well,
all right.
as you guys know, over the years, ever since we've been with Aflac, and let them come in here, yes, they've been paying for our administrative fees of our cafeteria plan. And in 2016, they will no longer be able to pay for that by federal regulations. So we have been with WageWorks. WageWorks seems to be working very well for our employees. They do debit cards for medical, and I've not had anybody complain to me personally about getting their money back out of WageWorks. So what they're proposing is $3.30 per employee per month to administer the cafeteria plan, and that is basically for childcare and medical reimbursement. So it's like $122 a month currently. We only have 37 employees involved in it.
They basically can't do it for free?
Right. They
Because of
can't
what
pay for
government?
it for employers.
Why can't they do it for a penny then?
Okay, they are paying WageWorks for us
I don't know.
to
Why
be
don't
able to
they
come
just
here and
bill
sell
us
their
$1?
products. They say that's not,
I didn't say they're doing it free, they're doing it for a penny. You have to have some kind of consideration, there it is, 1 cent.
well, I mean.
I got
they
all day.
can't- Well, they
It's
can't write
lunch
the
already.
check to them, so I don't know what else to say. And WageWorks is gonna charge.
Oh, so they're gonna pass the WageWorks directly to us,
That's
is where
right.
it's going. And
That's
it's
right.
330, how many employees do we have on it?
37, so it's $122.10 a month. So you're looking at $1,400.65 a year if 37 employees do that. Now, I checked around, some employers, the state of Missouri actually passed that fee on to the employee that does take the cafeteria plan. I did check with the city of Jeff, they eat that cost. Central Bank eats that cost for their employees. And in turn, it does help the county because every dime that an employee takes out of his check pre-tax, again, it makes our taxes less that we have to pay too.
I'm fine with it, I just was asking why they had to
Yeah,
all of a sudden go up to 330, but they're actually Plan Works or whoever it is billing us.
yeah, and I gave you some other costs from other vendors, which would be cheap to stay with WageWorks again because there's no setup fee.
You did?
Because it's attached, was it not attached?
No.
No.
Nothing's attached, okay.
But,
Here,
long
this
story short,
company
they're
is
gonna be the
$450.
cheapest one.
Yeah.
I'm fine with keeping, and we pay it.
This is just for Cobra?
No, it's for the flex,
I thought the cafeteria plan sounded
This
cool, but it wasn't what I
FSA.
thought. Y'all use tricky words, y'all need to change your words. The flu shots wasn't what y'all said either.
I know, that's old terminology, you're not supposed to say cafeteria plan, but it's the flexible spending account. Is the
You don't have to be politically correct
FSA.
around me.
FSA, yeah.
And Krista
So-
said she's gonna give you your flu shot in your butt.
So
I'm taking my flu shot out of a shot glass.
these are dollars that the employees set aside to basically help with medical costs. They're
And
pre-tax, right?
Pre-tax, the ones that are not in the HSA, and also.
Oh, they're not in the HSA.
Right, they can't participate if they have the health savings account, they can't participate in the flex.
I see.
But childcare is a very big one here, and most people use it for it. Again, we only have 37 employees, so
We pay lunches
it's
and
not
stuff
gonna
like
cost
that.
you a
School
lot.
lunches,
Use
too.
it for dental too, which the
It's not school lunches.
whatever it is, HSA doesn't let you use
I
that
was gonna say my
towards your
son in college
deductible.
has to have
So this is a way to pay dental.
HSA doesn't let you,
It doesn't cover
You-
dental.
Yeah, you can use your HSA money for dental.
I asked them and they said no.
you can use it for any medical.
Joe?
Oh, no, you can use it for glasses.
It may not cover
dental.
your, towards your deductible, I don't know.
I swear she told me.
So,
We can go towards the deductible.
Well, it probably doesn't count towards your deductible for your
Okay.
HSA amount.
Right.
But you can use HSA
Yeah,
money
I got PPP.
to pay
Okay,
for
so that
that.
was a
Or the-
confused
Yeah.
answer
No,
to my
mine's HSA.
question.
Yeah. Yeah, it won't go
Okay.
towards.
so this FSA account is not like just a debit health savings account at the bank. I mean, it's just not a separate account that goes to your bank or whatever. It's a,
HSA is,
So
it's a
that-
separate bank account that belongs to the employee. The flexible savings is, it's one big checking account we have. I take the money out of your check pre-tax, put it in
Mhm.
there, and then you have to show WageWorks receipts for
I see.
medical to get it back. It's a use it or lose it.
it's a reimbursable.
So if you have it taken out
Yeah.
during the year and you don't actually use your flexible spending, you actually lose it at the end of the year.
I see. Okay.
Versus HSA is yours forever.
So
So
it's-
it's just I mean, I think it's a good thing for our employees, knowing the city pays for it, knowing Central Bank pays for it. I think it's a benefit that we could afford to pay. It's not very much, and I'd like to continue with WageWorks because you can see that they are per month, per employee a lot cheaper because again, we don't have to pay that setup because we're currently enrolled with them. Now, technically, we do the setup online for them anyway, but
So I'm okay with it. I'm just trying to understand all this. But so, are we actually cutting them a check out of that account, or does WageWorks does it?
WageWorks does.
So we put the money in the account. WageWorks does everything else.
Yes.
pretty much, okay.
Or the employee can get a debit card and not get checks. They can have it wire transferred to their bank. I mean, a lot of employees are already set up,
Okay.
you know, so.
So they just get reimbursed. They have to prove it, and then they get reimbursed.
That's right.
And then they have X number of dollars in there, and when those are gone, they're gone.
That's right.
Okay.
And by federal law, they can only put X dollar amount in there.
Okay, I'm good.
So, and it's a benefit for us for tax purposes.
Okay.
And I will bring a contract to you for that. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were okay with us absorbing that cost.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. That's it on that.
Okay, transfer switch repairs.
I sent you gentlemen, I guess a week and a half ago, what the cost will be to repair the transfer switch in the old jail. After it was started, tested, we found out where the sparks came from, because you could actually see the burn marks on the inside of the boards. That transfer switch was installed in 1971. Parts are no longer available. I thought I brought the copy with me, but I think the cost was about $3,800 to put a new switch gear in. I think.
I'm trying to find the email, Greg, sorry.
That's all right. We found where the switch will actually switch it, but when it goes back to normal power, it won't switch back. It keeps flipping back and forth. The board, there's a board in there that's burnt, and 3 relays that sense the voltage coming in or bad.
So it does work, the generator?
Generator works. If the power does drop out, it will load the generator up, but it will not switch back.
I see.
And without protective gear, I won't go in there and do what he did.
Can you turn it on?
Yeah.
I double dare you.
No.
And
So you're gonna bid it?
Huh?
said it was a good generator?
Generator was fine, just needs to be serviced. That's, Jennifer is working on the.
Did you call around and get some different pricing from
I
different
have
people,
not.
or what are we?
I have not yet. I just did that because we were looking, they are also one of the customers that is in the front running for the service contracts for all the county generators right now. So,
I think we need to make some calls, and
Yeah, good.
we can do that.
we're
Good.
gonna run into the same thing we ran into at the garage door otherwise.
Not a problem.
Yeah,
Not,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with doing it.
Yeah, me
I think
too.
yep.
And you might email us and let us know who you contacted, and that way if one of us knows somebody or somebody has contacted us saying.
Not a problem.
How come you don't call us? We can forward that
I
information.
think we'll have it. Fabic is one we can call. I've got that bid the generator contracts already over in my office. I'll just call those other 3 companies and just have them come bid it.
Okay,
Okay,
Perfect.
good. Thank you.
good. Signing of surplus property.
So does it always spark? Can we go over and watch it?
No.
Not anymore, now that the transfer switch is shot.
This is a road and bridge, 1998 Ford chassis. Larry, you can explain.
It's one of the trucks we're surplusing out at the other place.
We made you stay here the whole time for this.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
back in Joy, I thought
Oh, yeah, that's right, we got the NID.
NID.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought so.
One of the trucks we traded in, we're just trying to get paperwork closed up. We've got a new dump truck in.
You just trading it in? I move that we sign the surplus title.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, discussion of the proposal from Joy Howard on the NID policies.
Okay, we talked before, when we talked about the NIDs, and we had Joy and Tony here, and you've seen how confusing it all was about the county entering into NIDs. So I had asked Joy what she would charge to come to us with some policies and help us through this, and for going forward with any other NIDs that would come up. She threw me a price of $1,200 for helping us with the policies. I do believe personally it's well worth the money. She helped us with our reserve policies. And we do go by those reserve policies, and we have probably for the last 5 or 6 years. And again, I think NIDs are not going anywhere. They're gonna be around, and these ladies are professionals, so I'd rather them write that for us. And then we can tailor it to fit, you know, like the $1,000 deposit we had and that kind of stuff. We can ask her to tailor it for us. So I just wanted to see where you guys were, and I just asked Larry to come to voice his opinion on how important he thought it was to have this done.
I think NIDs, we went through a surge of them back, probably 20 years ago. It kind of died off, and now they're coming back in gusto. So I know we've got 2 of them that are getting close to being petition signed. In fact, one of them, the petition has been submitted. We're verifying the signatures and acreages now. It should be on your agenda in the near future. And the other one is right there with it. We're meeting with landowner tomorrow to discuss possibly putting this property in it. And there's a third one out there. So I think this would be a policy we probably need to establish. You know, it's been done in kind of a hodgepodge way in the past, you know, where we paid for or fronted some of the money. I think this would be worthwhile to do.
So I just want to know if I can engage her and get a contract from her for you guys to sign.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'd make sure Jill looks at it too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
can.
I don't know, I don't really care for having a policy on it, because I think that the hodgepodge thing is probably a pain in the butt for you all, because you don't know what we're gonna do. But even having a policy in there, we can change the policy at any time, and if we wanna change it. So I don't know what direct benefit we're gonna have from having that policy. In 4 years, maybe 3 different people up here and change it completely or have different views of it.
But I think that's a good point of why to have one, because we do change
Do we have
people
any
all the
policy at
time.
all now?
No.
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 What's she gonna do the policy on, based on?
The law and what order things should go and how things should be done.
The
to
law
pro-
already says what order should be done then, right?
If you want to interpret the law on the, and it changes, and it's
I'm not an attorney, but I interpret the law every day. That's why Jill loves me.
No, I printed something about that policy off of the internet from, I think it was Biden and Swearingen, and they had it all wrote out, and I just printed it off. And it details how it's supposed to be done and stuff, so I don't know. Being they already did it, if they would be cheaper to get maybe their idea on it, or have them, it's up to you all, it doesn't matter to me. Ultimately, does $1,000 get passed on to the neighborhood?
Not this.
Not that one?
No.
Because I was interested too, how everything played into effect, so I just kind of researched it, and I found that on the internet, where it's all broke out, it's like how it's put together, so.
I think there'd be a benefit for the ones that are doing ours to be the ones that do
Right.
that.
Well, yeah, right.
But, you know, it's definitely up to the commission. Sure, we can go online and print off anybody's if it's out there, but
Right. Yeah, there is a process that has to be followed.
maybe some copyrights on that.
Well, that's an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody else's
It does-
intellectual property.
It does give the guidance to the staff on how, you know, it's kind of like our traffic and safety advisory board, there's, you know, policy statements that come out of that, as well as road and bridge, our gravel road upgrade policies. There, it gives some, you know, that we can at least point people, there's always the appeal process in all of them, where they can come to the commission, ask for something different. But if we've got something we can hand it, this is what, you know, the current policy is. It just, but I understand your point too, Joe. So,
Well, can we write a simple policy that says, we're not gonna pay for this stuff? Y'all are gonna have to pay for it, you're gonna have skin in the game, kinda like we did with that last one. We can write something up pretty simple. I don't know if we have to contract with Joy Howard to do it.
It's up to you guys.
I guess I'd like to think on it a little bit. I mean, I see both sides of it. I think it's think it's important that future commissions know what we were thinking when we do stuff, just so that they have some background as to why we did it a certain way or something. But you know, do we really need somebody to do that for us? I'm just not sure on that, but I mean.
Well, if we decide we need somebody to do it, we probably can have somebody local too to do it. Nothing against Joy, but if somebody's already written a policy, you're not having to remake the wheel. Maybe able to just change a few names in it and hand it over to us and say,
Well,
okay, if this is.
I think we need something in writing that you can give when if somebody comes to you and says, hey, we're you know, we'd like to do an ID, you can just say, here's
Here's the process.
here's the process.
Here's the
And,
process and the policy, you know, as it stands right now, that, you know, the NIDs have to pay all the costs, you know, as far as associated with it for design.
yeah, I think just spell it all out and,
We could, and if the commission wants, like we're doing with these two here, we can even say in there, you know, the cost for construction inspection, to do the upgrade is, that the county would handle as a benefit to the landowners, because we're gonna be out there inspecting it anyhow to make sure it's built to our standards prior to accepting it into the system. So, you know, I understand, you know, whether we keep it local or what, but me personally, it'd be nice to have this policy that when people call us and ask about it, we can just send them a document that's got all the steps in it, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel like we had to do on these two.
Can you check, hey Steve, can you get us information, the one that you had from Brian and them?
I printed it out.
And let's see what, if there's a copyright law or what. We give them $1 and say, here, can we have a copy of this?
Probably not.
And change it.
Well,
And
I think he's right, we do need a policy.
if it's on the internet,
How it works.
we go and change a few things. We're not copying it and stealing it from them, it's on the internet.
Well, I can
Hell,
forward it to you.
borrow it.
Borrow
Have nothing to do with
it.
Jeff Melcher borrowed this document.
It's not
From an
a,
attorney.
it's not a homework essay that you're
Well, what
copywriting
I'm
or
saying is
something.
they've already researched it, so it might be easier for to call them and have them, you know.
Well, and she has
Where
to.
did they get it? They
I'm not
probably
saying
used
she's
stole it
already
off
done
somebody
many
else's
policies.
template.
Right. They put it
So-
all together, the process of.
That's what I'm
the
saying,
NID.
call them and say, here, what was Joy gonna charge us?
1,200, and she's done many of them too. It's
They
not
probably
that she
say,
hasn't.
y'all can have it.
They might, they've already done it, I'm not sure who they did it for.
Or they might say it's
I can check
voluntary.
into it, but I think there does need to be a procedure of the process of how it all comes about.
Well, I'm sure they did.
yeah, that might be
Rewrite the whole
something
thing
too
by
to put
themselves.
on
I
our
don't know. I
website.
just-
what we
Just,
plan on.
just so that, you know, it's on our website when they pull up
Right,
Public
and
Works
that's-
and that makes it easier for,
We've got some information out there now, just explaining that there is a way to do it, but I'd like to have something that instead of, you know, like Kelly with Parkview's trying to do research on state statutes and everything, we've got stuff that we at least give them a starting point
Yeah.
if they wanna look at, you know, appealing something. You know, it's all right there on the website. Once we get the website up, it's like traffic and safety, road, bridge, and all those, we'll have it posted there for them to look at.
So it ain't gonna matter what the policy is, they can come up and
Well,
ask
they-
for something different anyway.
Yeah.
It's like getting a variance, I mean, it's.
But it gives us something to hang our hats on. It's like railroads.
So we
it's like
can
a
write-
starting point.
All right,
Right.
we'll write in
Yeah.
there that if they're gonna do an NID, they will include in the NID all associated costs. There you go, I just wrote it.
I think he's thinking more of the process, like where do they start and how do they.
That's all within the law,
Procedure-wise,
though.
yes.
Well, but to have a document that they can have, it says.
If we can hand them some paper and say,
Yeah.
listen, this is the procedure. You
Or a
gotta do this, this, and
PDF
this.
or something, to send it to them, so.
I think we need a document, but let's check and see on that and let's,
But
Let's
we're
bring-
finding
let's-
some of that
let's-
out ourselves right now anyway.
let's,
Yeah, 'cause I've never done one, so I just have to go back and try to figure out my process.
I've been on the other end on the construction inspection, but I haven't been on this end of it. so.
And we've
And is it-
technically not been on this end where we're gonna do a construction loan, other than when we did the bonding for the jail and we paid for all the vendors
So you're
through
gonna have to
that.
assume they're all the same when you're
Well-
writing this policy and procedure.
Well, this is the procedure if you need it. If you don't, you skip to this, you know, this is the procedure, you know.
You're gonna have a bunch of bubbles and arrows going
If you don't do this, you go to the
I'm
next
not
step.
kidding. I'm dead serious, because all this is gonna do is create more confusion stuff, more policy procedures we have, more government overreach. I don't know, I just think it's gonna be a pain in the butt. Even if Joy writes it up, because I don't know if she's gonna be able to get it to fit us, retrofit us, fit every program, everything that comes up.
Well, but we start with the draft, and if we need to simplify it, we simplify it, but I mean, we got,
It
yeah.
is a little-
So, anyway, I agree, I think we need something, I mean, be easy for you guys, I think, once it's in
If
place.
y'all wanna engage Joy, then, I mean, y'all can vote to do it.
No,
I mean, I'd like to
no,
see
I'd-
what,
let's
I'd like to see what
check and-
Steve
yeah,
has,
let's
and
check
then
and
let's bring it
see.
back next week. We'll just,
I can bring it, yeah. You just
Yeah.
need guidelines, I think.
Did you make a copy of it already?
Yes.
You're gonna go to jail. That's copyrighted, maybe.
I've already printed it off.
Steve.
And I've already read through it.
Can't take you anymore.
And with that, again, I know that department is checking the
We're checking the
property.
signatures now to make sure that all the signatures are, you know, the legal landowners want to sign. And then there's a lot of trusts and wills and stuff involved that we have to try to research because it all has to be documented, I guess, that they were the legal owners at that time, so it's a big process for us.
And Joy is contacting the local banks and her banks for this construction loan and with the RFP. And she said it'd be a 3-week process, so maybe all this will tie together and we'll be ready to go in about 3 weeks on this project.
And we're hoping to have ours done next week sometime.
Okay.
We might present it.
And again, I've been talking to Kristen, and we were talking about how we're gonna handle that, you know, as far as the contracting with the engineer first, and then we do the contract, we award that, and then we pay the contractor through that account. We're not sure how we're gonna handle that yet, so, unless Kristen knows yet, yeah. So, just so you're aware of that, but other than that, we'll bring it back up next week.
great.
Other issues to come before the commission.
Only thing that I have is that you want to clean up the attic at the courthouse, make sure you do it when the windows get out. You know what I mean? If you're gonna take all those file cabinets out.
Yeah.
You might want to do it when.
Throw them out the window.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, really, because there's a desk up there.
There's a bunch of stuff up there.
So that's the perfect time. If you're gonna take the windows out, clean out the attic.
It used to be the old mainframe went in through the
I
window.
think we need to move the new commission chambers up there so people can't find us. Rapunzel. Hey, what was that contract?
Wouldn't be
for on that
ADA
gas? Was that
accessible.
$1.09 on the propane?
It wouldn't be ADA accessible.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That narrow
He might.
I got one, I got
Hey,
it.
Chris, was it $1.09 on the propane? Was that what we awarded the bid on?
We hedge it at, I can't remember.
Well, that what,
I'm just asking because it seemed awful low.
no.
I don't remember what
That
it
price was correct, and it was,
Okay.
it was for X amount of gallons, as I
Right,
remember.
5,000
5,000
But the
gallons.
$1.09 is correct?
Yeah, mhm.
Okay, I was just making sure. It seemed lower than what I remember.
Well, the price is down right now, so.
We got an invitation from the Randolph County Commissioners to a legislative mixer on October 22nd. I think you guys got that
Yeah.
too. Says,
You gonna represent?
please notify your office that they are welcome to attend if they should not be directly entered on this email list. So, no, I'm going over to Columbia that morning to do Channel 17. I don't drive back over there in the afternoon. So,
Okay.
yep, that's all I got.
And God help me for bringing this up, but since it's been reported twice now, I feel the need to. We have patrons coming to some of our buildings, bringing their dog in the building.
Is this on the agenda?
No.
Well, Joseph, we can't talk about it.
I just want to know
unless
if
it's
you want it on the agenda or not.
I'll talk about it right now. I don't care. It's under other stuff, right? Bringing dogs in here?
Yep. And they're not service dogs.
I don't know.
Do we have a-
Policy
What is
like
our
that.
policy on?
I mean, we could put a sticker on the outside of our doors that say no animals allowed except for service animals.
I'm telling you, I've seen some people
We
come
don't
in
have a
that
policy.
courthouse and they're a lot worse than dogs.
We don't have a policy, by the way.
We have no policy?
I'm I'm serious. I'm telling you, the animals smell better too.
Well, but you know, really, we ought to probably put it on the agenda. Probably ought to make some
All right,
a
I'll put it
policy
on the agenda.
concerning,
Has it become a problem? Are they bringing them in the courtroom or what's,
Actually, it was to the health department.
brought them inside the health department?
Yeah, and after they were asked to leave, they said it was a service dog.
Well, if it's a service dog, we won't be
There
able to do
was
anything anyway.
no indication that dog was a service dog.
no, we need to just put,
Well,
let's
of
put
course,
that.
of course, there's so many dogs for so many different
I know.
things that could be a service dog anymore. I don't know.
Here's some things you can ask them about it to specify whether they are really truly a service dog or not.
Leonard Steinman had a service dog.
Yeah, he also has a dog that he has on a leash, so the leash law says that as long as the dog is on a leash, it's fine. Well, as long as the dog is pulling the leash around, the dog's on a leash.
Well, when he's president, he can let that dog run loose around the White House. Move we recess until 4:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I know the VA has stopped certifying emotional support animals because it was too many people were doing
Oh,
it to
really?
get out because
Yeah.
you can't be charged a pet deposit